A new pack, the blood between. Darian stood in his mother's kitchen, staring at the plate of scrambled eggs she'd left before her hospital shift. The smell turned his stomach. A month ago, he could have choked them down, maintained the pretense. Now even the thought made his wolf self recoil. The note beside the plate hurt worse than hunger. "Eat something before school, sweetheart. You're looking thin. Mom." If she only knew he'd already eaten fresh deer in the pre-dawn woods with his pack family. He could still taste the iron-rich warmth on his tongue. The digital clock blinked 7:15, time to pretend to be human again. School had become an exercise in sensory overload. Hundreds of heartbeats thundered in his ears. Every whisper felt like a shout. The fluorescent lights burned his too sensitive eyes. Worse were the instincts, the urge to assert dominance when challenged, to bare his teeth at threats, to respond to fear sent with aggression. Blake Matthews still gave him a wide berth, but today something was different. The former bully watched him too closely, his heart rate spiking whenever Darian looked his way. Blake had been hiking in the woods last weekend, Darian remembered. Had he seen something? The thought made his skin prickle, the shift threatening to surface. "Mr. Walsh?" His English teacher's voice cut through his thoughts. "The question?" "Sorry," Darian muttered, forcing his fingers to stop drumming on the desk. Had his nails lengthened? He curled them into his palms. "Could you repeat it?" "I asked your interpretation of the conflict in Call of the Wild, the protagonist's struggle between civilization and nature." A few students snickered. They'd taken to calling him Wolf Boy behind his back, never guessing how close they were to truth. "Maybe," Darian said carefully, "it's not about choosing sides. Maybe it's about being both." The teacher nodded, moving on, but Blake's stare intensified. When school finally ended, Darian caught Blake's scent following him into the parking lot. He ducked behind the gym, letting the shift ripple through him just enough to sharpen his hearing. "I'm telling you," Blake whispered into his phone, "something's wrong with him. You should have seen what I spotted in the woods last weekend. Those search parties are looking in the wrong places." Darian's blood ran cold. The search parties. 3 nights ago, he'd lost track of time running with the pack, forgotten to come home. His mother had reported him missing. The town had mobilized, combing the woods where teens had disappeared before. If they only knew those teens hadn't disappeared, they'd chosen, like he had. The alpha was waiting at the tree line when he reached the forest edge. Even in human form, Darian could read the wolf's displeasure. 3 pack members had nearly been spotted by searchers last night. The alpha's message was clear in his golden stare. Choose. Fully commit, or leave the pack. But leaving either family would tear him apart. That night, he dreamed of running, but instead of the usual freedom, he felt pulled in 2 directions, his body trying to split itself down the middle. He woke to howls, not his pack's familiar voices, but strangers. Rivals. Intruders. Territory challenge. Protect. He was halfway out his window before remembering to leave a note for his mother. His hands shook as he wrote, "Gone to early study group. Love you." Another lie. The shift took him as he reached the trees, fever hot and familiar now. Bones cracked and reformed, senses sharpened beyond human limits. His pack siblings' minds brushed his. They were already engaging the rivals near the town's reservoir. He ran, snow spraying beneath his paws. The rival pack was large, desperate, driven south by development, destroying their territory. He caught their scent on the wind. 12 wolves, lean with hunger, willing to risk human attention for prime hunting grounds. The first gunshot stopped him cold. Search parties. Out too late, too close to the fighting wolves. Through the pack mind, he felt his sister wolf's pain. She'd been seen, nearly cornered by flashlight beams. Among the human scents carried on the wind was one he'd know anywhere. Mom. His mother was out here, looking for her son, while 2 wolf packs fought around her. The rivals wouldn't care about human casualties. His own pack was too battle-focused to hold back. Darian's 2 worlds were about to collide catastrophically. He shifted back to human form, the change burning through him like lightning. Naked in the snow, he sprinted toward where he'd cached emergency clothes in a hollow tree. The rival alpha's howl rose over the woods, a challenge, a death threat, a promise of violence to come. Come on, he muttered, pulling on jeans and a sweater. No time for shoes. The pack mind pressed against his consciousness, demanding he rejoin the fight. But his mother's scent grew stronger. She was moving straight toward the conflict. He caught up to her search party at the reservoir's edge. 6 humans, including Blake and his father with their hunting rifles. Idiots. Regular bullets would only enrage the wolves. "Mom," his voice cracked. When was the last time he'd actually spoken to her? She spun, flashlight beam catching his face. "Darian? Oh God, baby, where have you been? You're freezing!" She ran to him, and he had to stop himself from flinching at her human scent. The rival pack's snarls grew closer. "You all need to leave," he said. "Right now. It's not safe." "Not without you," his mother said. "There are wolves," Blake's father said, raising his rifle. "Big ones. Been driving them toward the reservoir." Horror froze Darian's blood. They were using his pack's own hunting tactics against them, forcing them into a corner. A trapped wolf was a deadly wolf. The rivals burst from the underbrush. 3 grays and a black, teeth bared. Behind them came Darian's pack siblings, eyes gleaming with battle rage. The humans' screams pierced the night. Rifles raised. "No!" Darian threw himself between the wolves and humans. "Stop!" Everything happened at once. Blake's father fired. Darian's pack sister leaped. His mother screamed. The rival alpha lunged. The shift took Darian between one heartbeat and the next. Later, they would say a third wolf pack appeared, led by a massive black wolf with strange golden eyes. They would say this pack drove off the rivals, herded the others away from the humans. They would say the black wolf had seemed almost protective of the search party, intelligent in an unsettling way. Only Blake would suspect the truth. Only Darian's mother would recognize something in those golden eyes, something that made her weep but also smile. When the rifles finally lowered, when the rivals had fled and his pack withdrawn, Darian shifted one last time in the deep woods. He dressed, walked home through the snow, and found his mother waiting. She held up his note. "Study group?" "Mom," he began, but she held up her hand. "That wolf," she said. "The black one. It had your father's eyes. I always told him that's where you got them." She took a shaky breath. "You're not fully human anymore, are you?" The truth spilled out of him. The bus stop attack, the pack's call, the choice he'd made, the struggle to keep his feet in both worlds. When he finished, she was silent for a long time. "I can't pretend to understand," she finally said, "but I've been losing you piece by piece since the divorce. At least now I know where you're going." She touched his cheek. "Just come home sometimes. Let me know you're safe." "I will," he promised. "I'm not leaving. Either world. I can't." That night, the pack accepted his choice. Perhaps they sensed the power in being both wolf and human, the advantage of a brother who could walk in both worlds. The rival pack's challenge had proven that much. Blake confronted him at school the next day, fear scent rolling off him in waves. "I know what you are," he whispered. Darian let his eyes shift, just for a moment, enjoying Blake's sharp intake of breath. "Then you know I can protect this town better than any search party, better than any rifle." He smiled, showing teeth that were just a little too sharp. "I trust you can keep a secret?" Blake nodded quickly. The wolves howled that night, and Darian answered, first with his human voice, then with his wolf's cry. 2 songs, 1 throat, 2 natures, 1 being, 2 families, 1 heart. He had finally found his place, in the blood between.